Oh, back at it again. Looking smooth and snazzy out. Today, we will be reviewing a movie that came out a few weeks ago. I'm really saddened by this. I've been just off the rocket. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to Jupiter to get more stupider. I don't know. Anyways, welcome to Mamas is the film that I will be reviewing today. This film, let me just, I'm gonna explain it and then I'm gonna tell you my feelings. Okay, so we are introduced at the very beginning. You start off with this little girl and she's like at this place. It's a restaurant called Mama's. And you see her dad, and he's like, "Thanks for taking care of her," and she's like, "No problem." She has such a raspy voice, and it's like, "Hi there, what are you doing?" And I'm like, I love this woman. But she, like, Amy's this little girl who's like, "I'm being taken care of," and then she's like, "Okay, let's have a beautiful time," and they have this like dinner thing, and she's like, "Here we're all family. I love ya." And they're like, "Oh, that's so cute." And then they clink wine glasses. And then skip forward years and years, and this girl, Amy, is all sad, and she's like, "I'm gonna be a manager at this restaurant." Which, by the way, if they're not making that girl had way too much style to be living in New York City as a manager. Like way too much. Like she's. Oh, I don't know how much she's getting paid. Anyways, she's like, "I'm gonna get the promotion," and then her boss is like, "Oh, nope," and she's like, "I have to go out on my own," and the boss is like, "You can come back anytime." It was like it was like, I set a goal for myself, and I'm not going back on it. And I felt like that was like a really weird way to end the moment. Like, it was very interesting character choice that she just like left her job. Like, and her friend was like, "At least you've been saving." So that kind of saved the moment, but I was like, this girl was like, she didn't even look upset. She was just like, "I'm going." It's just like, I guess I'm done. It was very interesting. I don't know. And then, yeah. And so she's all like, "I don't know what to do." And then she goes to a coffee place, and then she runs into Frank. And so Frank is this like fiery Italian man. Amy's also Italian. But Frank is this Italian chef, and he's like, and he gets this bad review on his tiramisu. And he's like, "I'm so sad. Why is everybody being mean?" He like tries to beat up the review. What if he actually did that? I'd like to see a Hallmark movie where somebody like, but I feel like that would not. I feel like that doesn't coincide with the story. But it could be a funny moment. Like somebody gets hurt. I don't know. Maybe I'm just sadistic. Either way, basically, like, the second he sees her, he's like, "I'm gonna try to slide in." And I thought that was an interesting choice. Because, like, it never, like, a lot of times the guy is like, he's just like, "Oh, hey, whatever." But, like, he's very clearly into her. He just thinks she's hot. And I don't, like, I feel like that isn't the normal thing. It's like, typically he's like, "I have a problem with you." But he has a problem with her, but he was like totally into her when he saw her, so he was like, it was like so aggressive. Like, she was like, "Go ahead." Anyways, then we find out that Mama, who owns Mama's restaurant, she died. And in her will, she gave the restaurant to Amy, but also was like, "You gotta stay as head chef." Which, like, that's a sad way. You can be in charge of the menu. I want you to stay at my restaurant. Like, that's a very interesting choice you made. I think she had a plan. I think Mama had a plan and was like, "They're gonna fall in love." Oh, yeah. And that was her plan. But anyways, they have problems. No one likes Amy. And she's like, "I'm really sad." And then he put something on, like, there's this whole thing. Let's see. Yeah, Mama died. And they met at this Destino cafe. So it's like, it's supposed to be destiny, right? So that's the whole thing. And then, yeah. And then they kept doing these flashbacks. Okay, so basically, what happens? They're like, we're prepping for the grand opening, and and so they're like, oh yeah, because their restaurant was doing really bad, and she was like, we're gonna fix it. And then everyone was like, we don't want to fix it. And then they end up fixing it through like Frank takes her out on these like fake dates, which happen to be the same that they fall in love the same way that Mama and Papa fell in love. So it's just like this whole like mirror image thing. And here's the thing. Okay, and then they fall in love at the end, and it's like it's the 50th anniversary of the restaurant, or was it their marriage? No. It was no. It was the 50th anniversary of the restaurant, which is what they're like, we're gonna change the plan, and she's like, okay. And then meanwhile, Frank is not auditioning, but he's interviewing to be a cook at another store or another restaurant because he's like, I failed. And then meanwhile, they have like a cooking montage and go on dates and like slowly fall in love. So that's basically the whole plot. And then they have a wonderful end of the story where they're like dancing on the rooftop, which was talked about in a flashback of the fact that was like Mama and Papa's favorite place, and it was really cute, and I appreciate any kind of slow dancing on a rooftop to old music because it's so cute. But that was kind of how it went. And so, this movie, I have a lot of mixed emotions. We're going to start with the good things, and then I'm going to kind of sprinkle in some questionable things. The first thing I really like, the flashbacks. Oh, Mama and Papa, I love them. Honestly, I probably could have watched the whole movie just about them, if I'm honest. Because I thought that they were really cute. And the way that, like, he's just, like, really supportive. And like, I love those kind of stories where it's, like, building yourself up from the ground up and you don't have anything. And then you're like, we fell in love. Oh, now we got married. It's just adorable. And I thought it was so cute. And then she's like, he died. And then there was a lot of emotions. I was a really big fan of that flashback sequences. Second off, what else? The food. Oh, I love anything with food. This is like the one thing I did have a question about is that Amy. I like Frank, and Frank makes sense, and the way that he interacts, and the way that he talks about Mama, everything. Like, Amy likes Mama and cares, and like I get her, but also she's not very likable. Like she was just kind of awful. Like, I couldn't understand why he liked her, if that makes sense. Like, he didn't, like, there were a couple scenes where, like, he's smiling at her, but she really wasn't, I didn't care about her. Like, Amy, you could have put any other girl in there, and I would have been like, eh. But, like, Frank couldn't be replaced. So I feel like it was definitely, even though it was, like, she is the main character, I felt like it followed, there was a Christmas one a few years ago with this blonde chick and the guy from Chesapeake Shore. I can't remember what the movie was called. But I remember it was a lot, I felt the same way. That, like, the movie, well, actually, no, that one's different because, like, it did focus on him. But I felt like it should have focused more on Frank. I think Frank was the main character and she was, like, the side. You know what I mean? But it was weird because she was the focus. But I think it also, maybe that was intentional, that, like, the whole time, like, you're really not a big fan of hers. Like, you're like, she gets this restaurant, and she's just, like, kind of present, and she's, like, kind of awful and miserable. And then by the end, you're like, okay, you start seeing the good qualities. You know what I mean? But I felt like they should have started off with good qualities. like, they should have started, like, it was weird having the main character be the one that you have problems with. Like, the one who you get to see transform. Because she really is the one that you see transform. Other than the fact that she's crying a lot. But, like, also, it was very deep that the whole thing is about like death. Like that really is the overarching thing of like missing somebody and like they're falling in love in the same way. But really, it was about her relationship with Mama. So I feel like really was a movie about healing. So when I think of it like that, I think it deserves more credit. And I liked all of the like references, all the meals, all of like I liked all the little nuances of like the Italian, New York Italian culture, and I thought that was really fun. But it was also just like this girl, it kind of just I felt like she just didn't have a lot of standout moments other than her crying and being like upset. And she's also like bipolar. She changed her mood. Like all the plot points that are the problem that happen in this film are all her fault, and all of them happen for no reason and a lack of communication. It's not just like that lack of communication staple of like oh they forgot to mention one thing. It was like she just did whatever she wanted and was like I don't care. Which honestly I kind of can relate to. So maybe she's a lot more like maybe I do like her because she's like me. Anyways, I really like this movie. I actually really liked this movie. It was just I had a lot of I just didn't I was all over the place and I was like this movie is taking me on so many thoughts right now. And I felt like I wanted something cuter. Does that make sense? Like I felt like there was not enough cute things to counteract just her realism and the fact that she really was like probably one of the more realistic characters I've met. Like I've watched movies. Like you're always like the characters kind of ridiculous, you know, in most of the movies. Like you're like they have to have a little bit of like non-believability, but she was like so real that like she just does what she wants and she's gonna do what she wants and she just doesn't care. And like all the entire time I was like this girl is just too real. She needs to be fake for this movie to really like it was so real that I was like I didn't feel the fantasy. Does that make sense? I really liked the movie, but I liked all the things that weren't actually the movie. I don't know. I had mixed feelings. I'm gonna have to give this one honestly, we're gonna give it a 4 out of 5 sparkly 4s. Because I liked it. I just didn't know. I was just like, this girl is so... Like, I think she's too relatable. I think she was so relatable that it made me uncomfortable. But I did want to eat all of the food the whole time. I was like, I could eat this all day. I'm ready to go. So...